catastrophe built in to that moral and political system. And where you had a choice, as John Proctor does, the distinction of this group of 21 people is, you see, they needn't have died. No one in Salem who agreed to confess to meeting the devil was hanged. That's the wonderful, weird thing about it. The ones who said, yes, I did it, they were spared. The worst was they were kept in jail for a little while. It's the ones who denied who said, I am pure, they were hanged. That irony is lost on a lot of commentators, but it's the fact. I felt that there was a kind of preordination based upon, however, the characters of the people. See, some people, a man like the old man who's weighted down with stones, Giles Corey. Well, you see, he, above all, need not have suffered. He was not himself accused of witchcraft. He was only defying the court politically, legally. He was committing what in later, well, at that time was called contempt. Contempt of court. He refused to answer certain questions. Namely, to give them the name of a man who told him that Mr. Putnam's daughter, that Mr. Putnam had said of his daughter's testimony, she's given me a fine gift of land, by condemning a certain person who would then have to forfeit his property. And he refused to give this. So this was a purely political thing. Nobody accused him of, they accused his wife, but not him. So this depended upon his character, his stubborn refusal to give way to what he knew was untrue. And they hanged him. You can say for a fact that those who had the stomach to refuse to lie died. And they need not have died had they agreed to get in line. They also felt that God would punish them. It was a religious conflict at bottom. These people they weren't all deeply religious people. Rebecca Nurse was. But I doubt that Giles Corey spent much time in church. He was swearing all the time. He was drinking. He was just stubborn. But some of them, indeed, I have Rebecca Nurse say, when they're threatening her with a noose, and she says, "How may I belie myself?" Well, that's a religious statement, and that comes right out of the record. That's what she said. One way or another, they had to defy the authority of the court. For example, and this I have in the film, the nephew, I think it was, it could have been the son, it's so long ago I can't remember quite, but I think it was the nephew of the head of the government, the appointed, the king's chief in America, was a Harvard student. And he and another friend, they'd heard about this goings-on in Salem. So they thought it would be a lot of fun to come down to Salem and watch these yokels carrying on this nonsense, because a lot of people in Boston thought it was ridiculous. A lot of the sophisticates thought it was ridiculous. And he and his friend came down. They sat in this meeting house while some of these performances were going on. And at one point, he burst out laughing. And the Judge Danforth stopped the whole proceeding. He said, does someone find this funny? And he says, and he knew who this boy was. And he said, why do you find this so humorous? And he says, and he knew who this boy was. And he said, why do you find this so humorous? And the boy was embarrassed, and he said, well, I didn't find it all that funny, because he sure didn't find it too funny when everybody's looking at him ready to chop his head off. Make a long story short, he ended up in jail with his friend. They only escaped alive because the family, which was very powerful, managed to get 2 horses down to that jail, and they paid off the jailer who let them out. So for laughter at the wrong moment, you could also go up. It is a play about power. The play is basically about the misuse of power, but it's also about, see, power can't operate that way unless there's paranoia. Power is going to defend you against the enemy. If you don't believe in the enemy, then you don't believe in the power. Or you can believe in the power and make it and say, well, it's a ridiculous power, but it exists. But I don't have to pay attention to it. So the primary object of the politician in these cases is to scare the daylights out of the people, which is what we've been living through a good number of years now.